Good evening. Good evening. It is Monday again here in the United States. We are on the JADASA Live broadcast located right here in St. Louis, Missouri, but globally across social media platforms and blog talk radio. I am your host, Cynthia R. Bennett. Here on the podcast, we talk about issues dealing with abuse and neglect, and we raise awareness and provide resources and offer hope through educating, edifying, and encouraging in our communities, locally and globally. I want to thank you, our viewers and our listeners, and we ask that if this podcast is helping you in any way with your families and your friends and your associates, the JADASA organization is asking you to take time out to go to our website and our social media pages to see the causes that we raise for the women and children. But before we also want you to do this, we want you to like and share this page, like and share. You never know who down on your timeline needs this information. And so we're asking you to like and share this broadcast. But before we get started, I have a few announcements that I want to read to you and put before you. And I want you to mark this on your calendar because we have a lot of things that's going on. And so I'm going to add these announcements to the stream right now. First, we have, of course, our weekly support group session, Sister Sis program. It's on Wednesdays from 7 to 8 now. We are going to be back in our office, and we're going to move it a little bit earlier, maybe 5:30 to 6:30. So when you get off of work, you can come straight there, because I know if you're anything like me and you get home and pull them shoes off, it's a wrap. Okay, so we're going to move it up. Again, if you want to be a part of this, there's the information on the screen to let us know by noon that Wednesday, so we can prepare. If no one comes in or log in, then we won't have it that day, but it is available to you. And so I just want to put that out there. Our next slide is our summer developer program. Our developer program, where we deal with girls ages 10 through 19 to teach them about basic computer programming. We talk about entrepreneurship, personal finances, and we teach them how to create their own mobile app to combat financial literacy and financial abuse. And that's the topic that we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm pretty excited about that. This is on the slide on the website. It is the yellow folder, the yellow poster. We ask you if you know anybody from ages 10 to 19, go out there and register. The seating is limited. And so we want you to register now for the summer sessions. This summer is going to be 2 weeks straight in June from Tuesday through Friday. So we ask you to get your girls out there. We want to get them out the house. If they want to do something, have them to come out there. And we're going to add a little fun in it too. I think we're going to do some double dutch and some little things that we did back in the day that a lot of them don't even know nothing about. So we're going to institute that as well to have some fun. So we want you all to sign your girls up. Ladies and gentlemen, the Many Shades of Chucks. This is an event that is sponsored by JADASA as well as Barkham's Life Celebration Center. This is June 11th. It's going to be at 2 o'clock. As you see on our flyer, that is actually my niece posing in that flyer. We want you to see the chic attire that we're talking about, the Many Shades of Chucks. Put your Chuck tennis shoes on. You can dress it up, dress it down, put your shades on, and come out and be a part of this event. We have a lot of auction baskets. The next day is Father's Day. We got a humongous auction basket for Father's Day. Different auction baskets that you can come out and look at. So we want you to get your tickets. They are out online right now. Go to our website. Again, rock those chucks, put them shades on, dress it up, dress it down, because I'm going to be out there doing the same thing. And we want to see you, because this is resources that we're raising for women and children who we work with and deal with on a daily basis. And we need you, because you are a part of the community and we need you. Okay. Last but not least, I want you to keep this on your calendar. This is JADASA, the Run, Walk Against the Race, a race against abuse. October the 8th, 2022. That poster is going to post the actual next day after Many Shades of Chuck, which is Father's Day. we're going to post that, and we want you to be a part of this event. Okay, so I just want to put these out there. I want you to mark your calendars, put it out there, and just be on the lookout. But right now, you can go out there and register and get your ticket for Many Shades of Chucks. It is going to be a wonderful event. We want you to be a part of it. We want you to be with us so we can help raise funds to help women and children. And so we can't do it without you. And we are looking forward to you to be seeing there and being a part of this event. So now back to our announcements. But if you want more information and resources out there, you want to see what else is going on with JADASA, you can go to our website at jadasa.org. So tonight, let's talk about a topic that I ran across, and I was so excited about the topic that is being raised, that is being talked about. You know, a lot of stuff is now coming up and coming to the forefront and coming to the top and rising to the top that has been buried and swept up under the rug, and people thinking it's one thing and it's not that and it's something else. You know, and if you don't educate, then how will we learn? And so I was excited about this financial abuse that they talk about. And that's why we started the developer program, because of things like this. People stay in situations because they don't just happen to want to be in that situation, because it's dealing with finances. That's dealing with finances. A lot of them don't have the jobs, or they don't have the resources. And so they don't know, if they leave, where am I going to go? Who's going to take care of me? And especially if they have a family that they have to take care of, they're worrying about their kids as well. So abuse survivors normally put themselves last, especially when they have kids, because they're worried about their kids. They're concerned about their kids, and rightfully so. And so tonight we're going to talk about lawmakers who are considering expanding the definition of domestic abuse to include financial and mental abuse. Now, the title said financial and mental abuse, but this financial abuse is so big. I'm just going to deal with that tonight. I'm not going to deal with the mental abuse. I just want to deal with the financial abuse, where lawmakers are considering expanding this definition. And so as we slowly transition back into society, some are still reeling from the loss in employment, the loss in businesses, and the loss of income. And with prices now, with gas and food and everything shooting up like cannons, it is possibly affecting finances across the board. You know, and so this topic at this time is befitting. And I have always discussed it in my presentations, that financial abuse is a part of abuse. And so we're going to talk about that, because a lot of times we don't realize that that's what's going on, but it has a name to it. And so once we get that name, you know, we can identify with it. But sometimes we know we're not, like, something don't seem right. We just can't put our finger on it. Well, tonight we're putting our thumb on it, because we're going to identify what this financial abuse is. And lawmakers are working to try to expand that under domestic violence. And if that happens, then that's resources that we can allocate to that crime, or that area. And so we talked about that in this story. And here is a victim, you know, a mother of three, like so many other clients I have worked with, who separated from her husband. And she told the court that even though he dragged her out of the bed and shoved her down the steps and onto the kitchen floor, you know, she said even though that was physical abuse, in the course it was painful and it hurt her children to see that. But she said that the daily insults that hurt the most, you know, taking the money away and holding things back and having to perform, to do stuff. I'm gonna get into that. Those were belittling that makes you feel worthless. You know, that somebody will make you do things and hold finances and hold things that you need, not necessarily just you want, but even if you want it, but some of your needs, because of selfishness, and it makes you feel worthless. And so this particular client, this lady said, you know, and so when you feel that way, you start to question your own self-worth, to the point that now, get this, his voice becomes your voice. So you mimic what he says, and you start believing what he says. And so that's what that means. When his voice becomes your voice, you start mimicking and believing what he's saying, and you start saying the things that he's saying or believing those things. And so other than physical and sexual abuse, which we know about, that we talk about it and stuff, domestic abuse is more than just controlling where you go and who you speak to, and going through your phones and your emails and passwords. It's more than just that, because victims during the height of the pandemic, when we were all sheltered in place at home and were quarantined, victims with their abusers experience financial abuse on top of the other abuse. And so that kind of abuse is hard to see. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't leave broken bones, but it can have a similar impact and make victims feel like hostages in their own homes when you don't have money. When you have money to buy stuff, the money to go places, the money to do things that you want to do for yourself or your children, or the things that you need to do, the necessities, you don't have that. You can feel like an outcast. You can feel worthless. You can feel like, why am I here? Like you're a POW. You can feel like that, a prisoner of war. So a prisoner of war. So one lawyer who is closely working with including this terminology of financial abuse, among other, I think it was technology abuse and mental abuse and something else. But we're talking about financial abuse. And so the lawyer who is closely working with including this terminology says courts currently don't recognize patterns of controlling behavior that can eventually escalate to physical abuse. Courts at this time, courts do not recognize that as physical violence. So now there is a growing movement in state legislature across the country, including Massachusetts, and this is where this started, to expand domestic abuse laws to help victims get help for controlling behavior and financial abuse. Because right now, you can't get it. But if they put that under domestic violence umbrella, then there are agencies like ours and others who can provide services once it comes up under that. So we are really helping and hoping and doing what we can to give out insights and our stories and talk about the things that our clients go through, so they can try to push that bill in there. So, excuse me, several bills in Massachusetts would allow victims to seek protection orders for additional reasons, like name calling, financial control, technological abuse, and stuff in isolation. So they're trying to do that. And so because we're talking about financial abuse, and we're hoping and we are working on trying to get that up under domestic violence umbrella, because once we get that under the umbrella of domestic violence, we can provide those services to clients who are experiencing that. So to know what we're trying to do, let's talk about what is financial abuse. Financial abuse, what are some of the things that falls under financial abuse? Interfering with work can be financial abuse. Getting you in trouble by calling and texting you and showing up at your work all the time and harassing you and at your job to the point you get fired, where he keep calling on the phone, especially if you're on a customer service job or whatever. Those type of jobs, they monitor your job, they monitor the incoming calls, and every time you look around, and they know that, and they're doing that to get you fired. That's financial abuse. Keeping you from getting to work, holding you hostage. You need them to babysit the kids. They say they're going to come babysit, and then at the last minute, they either don't show up or they say they're not coming. Now you stuck at home because you don't have a babysitter and you got to be there, or all of a sudden you always losing your keys. They're hiding stuff from you to make you late for work. That's interfering with work, and that falls under financial abuse. What's another part of financial abuse? forcing you into debt. What does that mean? Running up the bills on credit cards and opening up new accounts and credit cards in your name. Now, they may not do it in their name, but they open it up and they may even add their names on it, but open it up in your name, running up the credit. And then now you left with the bills, trying to pay those bills and saying that they're going to help pay the bills, but they never do it. They never do it. Pressuring you to sign things or to sign an authorization for them to get documents in your name. You know how we do. The one thing that I've run across some victims who deal with this is putting cars in their name. Now, the car is in your name, but they driving it. Excuse me. They driving it. And so if anything goes wrong with that car, they get in an accident, they can walk scot-free. Their name is not on the car, but you stuck with that debt. You stuck with trying to get that car fixed. You dealing with the insurance company or the person that you hit or he hit or they hit, you know, and they're going after you and your insurance. Now your rate's going up, which is more money out of your pocket. You know, you got to get the car fixed. You got to pay for the repairs and all that stuff. Doing all of that, that all falls under financial abuse. Making you prioritize your obligations while they do things that they want to do. All of a sudden, you got to put all the money first to pay the bills that's due, but then every time they around, they coming in with a pair of new Nike sneakers on, or they put, you know, they got some Timberland boots, or they done bought some new jeans, or they done did something. They done went on a weekend trip with the fellas or whoever, but you got to stay here and take care of the bills. That all falls under financial abuse. What is another financial abuse? Calling all the shots. You know, you never know what the resources they have. You know, you don't know what's happening with the money that y'all sharing. You know, all of a sudden they got the money. They don't want to share nothing. They don't want to tell you nothing. They don't want you to see their bank accounts, even though both of you all on the bank account, you know, but they got the run of the meal of it. They names on it. They signing checks. They doing all this stuff. You can't even get checks. You can't sign checks, debit cards and all that stuff. Giving you an allowance. Now, you going to work. You got a job just like they may have a job and they may not have a job. But you got a job. Y'all name is on the joint account, but then they want to give you an allowance. So they want to make sure that they control and decrease what access you have to the money, how much you get, what you're going to do with your money. You know, all of that falls under financial abuse and holding back money for things for you and the children, stuff like medicine and food, and you got to pay the daycare, you know, and all of a sudden you got to come up with all these examples and excuses to the daycare why you don't have the money that Friday, knowing that it's a possibility. They may tell you don't bring your kid back the next week until we get this money, and they done took the money or they holding the money, and you know you got to cry and beg and all. That is abuse. That's abuse. That's financial abuse, you know. And so with that, it goes into the next form of financial abuse that I want to talk about, and that's manipulating you with money. That's another form of financial abuse, pressuring you to pay them back. They give you gifts, they do kindness, they do things that, you know, they buy you stuff, or they do something for you. Then all of a sudden they want to hold it over your head. This is what I did this for you, I did that for you. You know, they want to keep letting you know, they want you to pay them back like they're the bill collector, or they want to always remind you what they did for you financially. They ain't doing it from their heart. It's just a notch to say, this is what I did for you. And they always want to say how, what is it? What's the word that ungrateful you are, you know, but then they give it to you begrudgingly. And then when they do give it to you, they hounding you and stuff. That manipulating you with money, manipulation. That's all it is. Only giving you money if you have sex with them. That happens. I'm telling you stuff that I have dealt with as far as my clients, people that have come to me. Holding stuff with you. You got to give it up to get some money. Now they trying to treat you like you some prostitute or something. Belittling you. That brings your self-esteem down. That makes you feel not that brings your self-worth down when someone does that to you, regardless of what you want. Okay, well, you got to do this to get that. What is that? That's demonic. It's crazy. It's sickening. Reminding you how you have nothing. I remember when I met you, you was in the projects. I remember when I met you, you was living with your mama. I remember when you was you ain't have nothing. You ain't had no job. You wasn't educated. You know, and they reminded you, I put you through school. I got you this job. I got you that car. You know, reminding you that you had nothing until all of a sudden when you got with them, now all of a sudden you done amassed all this material stuff. And, you know, a lot of people, and I've dealt with that because I've dealt with that. Some women who come into with me, talking with me, who were wives of doctors, wives of doctors, wives of pastors, wives of people that was prominent, and they may not have been as prominent as them or educated as them or financially stable as them, but then they remind them where they got them from, like they done picked you up out the gutter, like you didn't have nothing, and all of a sudden they done put you in another zip code, and they done put you in another financial bracket, and then they want to browbeat that over you. That's manipulation. That's manipulation. Manipulation. And lastly, I want to talk about messing with benefits and legal threats. You know, making you hand over. You know, some people may be on, and I'm not knocking public benefits because people may have to get on it for some reason, whatever. But then they want you to hand over the. You know, I'm telling you this. And I know I see a lot of it, and I try not to think about it. But I see a lot of men, and they could have benefits too, but I don't know, because sometimes they buying diapers and formulas, but then they got the card. So maybe the woman gave them a card to go pick the stuff up for her, but making you hand over your food stamps and your WIC card and all that, your payments and stuff, so they can go and do, because you know, some, in case you all didn't know, there are some stores that will allow you to use those cards to buy stuff that ain't food. You go to the right store, okay? You go to the right store, they'll let you buy liquor, they'll let you buy everything else, cigarettes, with that stuff, them cards, that money, and they handing it over. Refusing to pay child support or threatening that they ain't gonna pay child support. Now they help you make the baby, because now that's messing with benefits. That's messing with, you know, your legal rights. Legally, they are supposed to take care. We already know about that. Dragging out a divorce case, constantly dragging out, constantly coming back, constantly saying, I want this, I don't want that, I want to change this. And then every time you call the lawyer, you know, they charge you by the hour, they bill you. And then every time you got to go in the office to change some paperwork, to sign something, they billing you. So they constantly milking you that way. That's all of those that I've talked about falls under financial abuse. And so remember, you don't have to recognize all of these signs for you or someone you know to be in an abusive relationship. You don't have to recognize them all. You can recognize a few. However, every example here is a red flag for an unhealthy relationship. An unhealthy relationship. Nobody should hold money over your head or what they've done for you or constantly browbeat you. Nobody, that's not love. That's manipulation. That's abuse, financial abuse. They want to hold that over you. And guess what? Money could come today and come tomorrow. They may have it, but tomorrow they may not have it. You know, those are the things that lawmakers across the country are considering a new terminology, and not a new terminology, an additional terminology to put up under the umbrella of domestic violence. Again, if they ever pass this bill to allow for this terminology of financial abuse to go up under domestic abuse, then organizations and agencies like JADASA and other agencies across the United States can provide services and resources to those who are experiencing this type of abuse. Because most times, if you're in a domestic violence relationship, financial abuse is not too far behind. It falls in there. All the abuse is wrapped up because it branches off into different things. And so I want to share that because I am excited that the conversation has started about financial abuse. Again, that is why we decided to start the developer program. And that development program is to combat financial abuse, because we want the young ladies that we work with from ages 10 to 19 to know that you can have your own money. If you want to go into technology field, you can. This is just a prerequisite. This is just a basic to get your appetite whet, just to get you in there to see if that's something you want to delve off into. Maybe you want to go into the technology field. Maybe you want to go into a company and work in IT. Maybe you want to be your own entrepreneur and you build apps. That's still financial security, financial stability, being sufficient, self-sufficient. All of those will help combat financial abuse, about all of those things that I talked about earlier. And so that is why we created the developer program, because we're developing her. That's why we call it develop her, developing her to be self-sufficient. And so I'm excited about it. Again, please visit our website. Go out there and look at the summer program. We are almost wrapping up the spring developer program. We have 2 more Saturdays left. And now the summer program is open. Registration is open. You can go out there and register. It's for free. It is free, but the spaces are limited. And so we are asking you to be a part of this so we can help our young ladies know that they can be self-sufficient. They don't have to depend on somebody else, especially when they want to use it to abuse them. They want to hold the money and withhold the money and cause them to do things in exchange for money. That don't have to be. So if you or someone you know need help, we want you to call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 or the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673 in the United States. You can reach out at JADASA.org, our website, or any of our social media pages. And you can call us also at 1-800-292-2145. You can also find resources in your state's coalition. I had a young lady last week from Massachusetts asking me about a coalition there. Where can we find it? And I gave her the information. But however, because this conversation came out of the legislature in Massachusetts, I reached out to her today and asked her, would she be a part and come on to the podcast, because this is actually in her state. And so I hope, if she didn't get a chance, I saw a few people pop on and stuff, but if she didn't, it's recorded. I sent her the instant message. So I'm hoping she get a chance to go out there and look at it. And so you can also find resources at your state's coalition website by Googling domestic violence coalitions in your state or hotlines in your prospective countries. In your countries, you can go to Google and you can put in domestic violence hotline in your country, and they will give you some type of resource or information there for you to be able to get your information. And so I'm going to leave you with this, Jeremiah 29:11. And the word says, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. God wants to give you an expected end. If your end is peaceful, if you want a peaceful end, if you want a joyous end, if you want a loving end, that is what God wants to give you, because he is thinking good thoughts of you, not evil thoughts. He wants you to have good things. He wants you to have peaceful things. He wants you to have prosperous things, because he wants to give you the end that you expect. Remember, JADASA is a community-based organization. JADASA is a global community organization. Therefore, you are the community and you are JADASA. I want you to remember that it's JADASA 24/7, 365 days, all day, every day. With that being said, I want you to be safe, I want you to be well, and I want you to be whole. Good night.